Hey folks, Adam Brian Dada with another lower reward video series conversation. This is not a 2-week self-study, but an ongoing topic that I've gotten requests for over many years. I've actually done quite a bit of mentorship and even consultations on this topic. I've had some decent successes and a lot of failures, as is the case. We're going to talk today, we're going to start the conversation today on lower reward parenting. And I don't acknowledge or discuss whether or not I have children. I find that it's an extremely private topic, more so than my net worth, more so than who I'm dating or sleeping with, more so than what I do for a living. And I don't even tell people that. My own mom still has no idea what I do for a living. And neither do the women that I date, and neither do most of my friends, because it's very intimate. But the topic of children is even more intimate. It's always bothered me when parents want to brag, oh, I have a kid, oh, I'm going to be the world's greatest parent and all that stuff. I know you want to be proud of it, but let me tell you something. Sticking a part of your body into another person irresponsibly is not something to brag about. Brag when they graduate from Yale or become a corporate CEO, or better yet, brag when they take care of you in your old years. Nonetheless, those views aren't very common. Lower reward parenting. It comes down to one of the major foundational parts of lower reward living for adults. You can't, as a parent, really teach kids that well, because active teaching doesn't work as well as passive habit forming. The parent who tells a kid to be nice to their neighbor and all that stuff is also the parent that sits and screams at CNN or Fox News, and the kid learns from the screaming at the TV, not from the words and examples that are verbalized. Active teaching will never be more powerful than passive habit formation. This is why organized education generally does not work, and why almost every single person watching this today who has entered some kind of organized education, spent money and time and years to reach a goal, maybe a degree, and they don't do anything to do with that degree, because organized education does not work versus passive habit forming. So, what does that mean in regards to lower reward parenting? Well, the habits that you show your children today are the ones that will come back to them down the line. Peer pressure is always going to be more powerful a teacher than parental organized education and structured education. This is true for you, this is true for your offspring, this is true for the bastard kids you have that you don't even talk to. But guess what? Peer pressure doesn't generally last forever. It usually ends at a certain time. Peers change. Hormones change. The things that people do as they age changes, but the habits that are created young are the ones that stick for the rest of your life. So how, as a parent, do we induce good habits? Well, you don't, because you, as a high reward consumer, have terrible habits, and your kids see all of them. The way your kids swear is exactly the way that you and your other partner swear in front of them when you think they're not looking. The things that your kids get angry about are exactly the same as the things you get angry about when you think your kids aren't paying attention. So, as a high reward consumer, your kids have already lost, but that doesn't mean it's too late. The first step, the best foundation, of lower reward living that a parent can pass on to their children is the most foundational one in my life and in the life of every loser that I have mentored to turn around, and that is having options. Having options is the final words of any low reward cookbook or Bible. It is the last two words, like the end, except it's have options. You can't indoctrinate having options by teaching that, but you do it by example and by habit. It doesn't matter what kind of serious problem you face. If you face it where others can witness either you actively attacking your problems or passively succumbing to them, the man who has options and broadcasts those options is the man who wins in the long run. The father whose son sees dad talk out his options is the son who will habitually learn that it's okay to fail, that it's okay to be guilty, that it's okay to make mistakes or even do wrong on purpose because dad has options. Now, mind you, I'm not talking about mothers and daughters only because I'm not a woman and only because I don't know the experience of young women. That doesn't mean that lower reward parenting doesn't work for women. What it does mean is that you can try and write your own cookbook for your daughters or your sons if you're a woman, or your daughters if you're a dad. But I'll need you to report back on that. How do you display that you have options? Well, think about the times that you have failed recently, especially in front of your children. Think about the times that you have failed recently and shown negative emotion in front of your children or in front of your significant other or in front of your coworkers or in front of your friends or maybe on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram. Think about the times that you failed recently and you did not consider the options. Why is that? It's because you're a high reward maggot consumer. Lower reward men know they have options. We know we have contingencies. We don't sit around and plan and overthink about what they might be. We act. We act because we know we have options. We act because we know if we screw up one action or two actions, we know that we have options. And life isn't over because a bad thing had happened. When you experience something tragic and your immediate response is to open a beer, you don't have options. When you're feeling worthless, when you're feeling unfulfilled, when you're feeling like everything is going wrong in the world today, and you turn on the damn video game, you're telling your children who are witnessing it, I don't have options. You're creating bad habit. Habit being, daddy is a loser, I don't want to be like daddy, but I'm going to absorb daddy's bad habits of immediately turning to consumer reward in order to feel better. Versus, I lost my job. This is terrible because I had a great job with insurance, with benefits, with paid vacation, with people I trusted, and now I don't have that job. What am I going to do? Go out to the bar and get drunk? Cry to my wife? Break things? Beat my kids? That's a man without options. What about the low reward winner who has been listening and putting some of that money away in that emergency fund, in that FU fund? What about that guy? How about coming home and saying, honey, kids, I lost my job, but daddy's been saving for years. Before mommy and the kids were even around, daddy's been saving. We're going to be okay because I've created options. Instead of freaking out, let's sit down as a family let's discuss what our needs are for the next year, because a dad shouldn't be a dad without 24 months FU money in the bank. Teaching your kids passively that there are options. You don't have to go to little Jimmy and say, Jimmy, look at dad, he's got 24 months of savings in the bank. You don't have to be obvious about it. You just have to realize you feel okay because you're a lower reward winner. Get in a car accident. Someone breaks into your house and steals a bunch of stuff. The dog dies. Instead of getting negative emotion and saying, what am I going to do? This is terrible. You have options. You have options. Wow, I'm really sad that the dog died. I'm going to experience some tears, some sadness, being normal, but then let's go out and let's volunteer this weekend at the dog shelter. Instead of going out and immediately buying another used animal, that's not having options, by the way. Go out and volunteer with the Used Animal Society. Or go around and see if any of your neighbors are 900 years old and could use someone to maybe change the litter every once in a while or walk the dog for them in the middle of winter. You have options. You don't even have to think about these options. You have options. You are a lower reward winner who doesn't worry about not having options. And your kids are going to habitually learn from the man who has options. Passively, habitually, creating habits. Peer pressure is always going to knock those out. Always. Hey, little Johnny, Fido died. Rather than being the loser that I was and immediately going out and buy it, you're thinking, hey, Jimmy, we're not ready for another dog. Let's remember Fido and do good things by going and walking old Mrs. Neighbor's dog for a couple of weeks. Helping her out. Helping her out. Think about what that does in Jimmy's head. And then little Jimmy goes, oh, Dad, but Peter's got the new Sony Xbox PlayStation. I want to go over there. What are you going to do? Peer pressure is going to win in the short run. As a dad, you can say, no, absolutely not. I'm going to create forbidden fruit and make you want it more. Or you can be like, well, I was hoping we could do this together, but it's okay. I understand. If you finish up with Peter and the Sony Xbox 7 early and you want to come and help out Mrs. Old Neighbor and I walk her dog or clip its nails or brush it or change the litter box, you know where I'll be. And go and do it. Take some photos. Post it on social media. You're a man with options. And your kid is going to succumb to peer pressure all the time. But more so if you try and block it. Because kids don't learn from active education. Anyone that tells you that is a lying teacher. Hashtag jail the educators. They're a liar. Their income relies on you believing the nonsense of organized education. They are liars. No offense to the teachers watching this, but you know it. You know you can't teach kids. You can teach the ones that already know. Kids always succumb to peer pressure, but they will learn passively through habit that they pick up from the parents. And the active parent who teaches the habit of having options is the one that will have the more successful child down the line, success being driven by what? By a kid who realizes they have options. I recently on vacation saw a dad get in a huge fight with a hotel employee who makes $8 a day because the hotel employee didn't properly write down some part of the reservation and they could no longer go to holiday dinner. And the dad exploded. Exploded. He absolutely blew up. And the kids watched this. The little kids watched it. And his wife was ashamed and not turned on, although I was giving her good looks. She looked pretty nice for a wife. If I was a man of ill repute, the night would have ended differently. But I'm thinking to myself, this This is terrible. This guy has no options, and he's telling the kids, look what's okay when you have no options, to get angry, to put your chest in the guy's face. For what, a dinner? Do you know how I had dinner last night? I slipped a $20 bill to a guy cleaning the tables. And I said, the next table, I'd like it. 20 bucks. The guy doesn't make that in 2 days. And guess what? I had a table because I have options. Now, had I had children with me, maybe they would have seen the $20 bribe, maybe they wouldn't. I'm not saying do that in front of the kid, but don't get angry. Don't explode. Don't go and say, oh my goodness, I'm going to teach you habitually to be a loser. Kids don't learn from active education as much as they pick up from passive habituation. Now, I don't know how many people actually really wanted a lower reward parenting video series. It's not a 2-week self-study, it's a lifetime self-study. But if you really want more of these, I gotta hear it below on the YouTube channel comments. Do not comment on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or wherever else you're seeing this. Comment on YouTube. It's very important for me to know if you want to see more of this series. If you disagree with me, comment on YouTube. That's where the active conversation goes. My name is Adam Brian Dada, and this is the Lower Reward video series.